The text message came at 2:17 a.m. I only know this because I'd been staring at the ceiling for hours, listening to Ethan's gentle snores beside me, wondering if he was dreaming about her. My sister. My younger, prettier, wilder sister. The buzz of my phone startled me. I fumbled for it in the darkness, squinting at the sudden brightness. Sorry if I woke you. Can we talk tomorrow? Just the two of us. It's important. Mia. My stomach clenched. Mia never texted me this late. Not unless something was wrong. Or unless she felt guilty about something. I turned to look at Ethan, studying the shadowed planes of his face in the dim glow of my phone. 8 years of marriage, and I still found him devastatingly handsome. His dark hair fell across his forehead, and I resisted the urge to brush it back. I didn't want to wake him. I didn't want to see his eyes and wonder if they held secrets. I typed back, sure. Coffee at Blackbird at 10? Her response came immediately, perfect. Thank you. Thank you? Since when did Mia thank me for agreeing to meet her for coffee? Something was definitely wrong. I placed my phone back on the nightstand and curled away from Ethan, hugging my knees to my chest. 3 weeks had passed since he'd dropped his bombshell over dinner. Our anniversary dinner, no less. I've been thinking about us, about our future, he'd said, swirling the red wine in his glass. The candlelight had caught the liquid, making it glow like embers. I love you, Olivia. You know that, right? I'd nodded, already feeling the dread pool in my stomach. Nothing good ever followed that kind of preface. But I think we should consider opening our marriage. The words had hung between us, distorting the air like heat waves rising from pavement. I'd stared at him, waiting for the punchline, waiting for him to laugh and say he was kidding. But the seconds had stretched into a minute, and he'd just watched me, his expression earnest and hopeful. You want to sleep with other people, I'd finally managed, my voice barely audible over the soft jazz playing in the background. It's not just about sex, he'd insisted, reaching for my hand across the table. I'd let him take it, too shocked to pull away. It's about exploration, about expanding our connection. We've been together since college, Liv. Don't you ever wonder what else is out there? The truth was, I didn't. Ethan had been enough for me, more than enough. He was my best friend, my lover, my partner in everything. The thought of sharing him made me physically ill. But I'd agreed to think about it because I loved him. Because I was terrified of losing him. Because maybe, just maybe, if I at least considered it, he wouldn't go behind my back. Like I suspected he already had. With Mia. My sister had always been the wild child, the one who took risks, who lived for the moment. She was 2 years younger than me but seemed a decade ahead in experience. Where I was careful and methodical, Mia was spontaneous and carefree. Men were drawn to her like moths to flame, and just as often got burned. But Ethan had always seemed immune to her charm. Until recently. I'd noticed the change gradually. The lingering looks, the inside jokes, the way they'd both fall silent when I entered a room. Last month, at my parents' anniversary party, I'd gone looking for Ethan and found them in the garden, standing close, too close. They'd jumped apart when they saw me, and Mia had made some excuse about asking Ethan for advice on her car trouble. Ethan didn't know anything about cars. It was one of the many jokes between us, his complete lack of mechanical knowledge. Sleep eluded me for the rest of the night. When morning came, I slipped out of bed before Ethan woke, leaving a note saying I was meeting Mia for coffee. I didn't mention that the thought of confronting her filled me with equal parts dread and rage. Blackbird was crowded when I arrived, the Saturday morning rush in full swing. I spotted Mia immediately, her copper hair catching the light from the windows. She was beautiful in that effortless way that had always made me feel like I was trying too hard. Today she wore a simple white t-shirt and jeans, no makeup, and still looked like she could be on a magazine cover. She waved when she saw me, her smile tentative. I forced myself to smile back as I navigated through the tables. I ordered you a latte, she said as I sat down. With an extra shot, the way you like it. Thanks. I wrapped my hands around the warm mug, needing something to anchor me. So, what's so important? Mia took a deep breath, tucking her hair behind her ears, a nervous habit from childhood. It's about Ethan. My heart seemed to stop, then restart at double speed. Here it was, the confession. I braced myself, determined not to cry in public. He came to see me yesterday, she continued, her eyes fixed on her cup. He wanted to talk about you. I blinked, caught off guard. About me? Mia nodded. He's worried, Liv. He thinks you're pulling away from him. A harsh laugh escaped me before I could stop it. That's rich, considering he's the one who wants to sleep with other people. Mia's eyes widened. Is that what he said? He wants an open relationship, I said, making air quotes with my fingers. Apparently, I'm not enough for him anymore. Olivia, that's not. And I think I know why he suddenly wants this arrangement. I leaned forward, lowering my voice. I've seen the way you two are together. The whispers, the looks. Do you think I'm an idiot? Mia's face drained of color. You think Ethan and I? She shook her head vehemently. No, Liv. God, no. Never. Then why have you both been acting so strange? Why does he suddenly want permission to sleep with other people? Mia glanced around, then leaned closer. Because he's trying to save your marriage. I sat back, stunned. What are you talking about? You haven't been happy, Liv. Not for a long time. You work 60 hours a week, you barely talk to him, and when you do, it's about bills or chores. When was the last time you two did something fun together? Something spontaneous? I opened my mouth to argue, then closed it. When was the last time? I couldn't remember. Ethan came to me because he's desperate, Mia continued, her voice gentler now. He thought maybe if he suggested opening the relationship, it would shock you into talking about what's really wrong. He never actually wanted to sleep with anyone else. Then why suggest it at all? I demanded, though a seed of doubt had been planted. Mia sighed. Because he's a man, and men sometimes come up with incredibly stupid solutions to problems. She reached for my hand. He loves you, Liv. Only you. He's always been crazy about you, from the first moment you met. I wanted to believe her, but the suspicion had taken root too deeply. And the garden? At Mom and Dad's party? You two looked pretty cozy. A flush crept up Mia's neck. He was helping me with a problem, but it wasn't car trouble. I've been seeing someone, and it's complicated. Ethan's been giving me advice. Why would you ask Ethan for relationship advice and not me? The hurt in my voice was unmistakable. Mia bit her lip. Because the guy I'm seeing is married. It's a whole mess, and I knew you'd judge me for it. Ethan's more understanding. The pieces started to fit together in a different pattern than I'd imagined. Mia and Ethan weren't having an affair, they were confidants. The thought should have brought relief, but instead, it highlighted how disconnected I'd become from both of them. I need to go, I said abruptly, standing. I need to think. Mia reached for my wrist. Liv, please. Talk to him. Really talk to him. He's hurting too. I nodded stiffly and left, my coffee mostly untouched. The drive home gave me time to process, time to examine my own role in the deterioration of my marriage. Had I been so caught up in my career, in the day-to-day responsibilities, that I'd forgotten to nurture what mattered most? When I walked through our front door, the house was quiet. I found Ethan in the backyard, kneeling in the garden we'd once tended together. I'd stopped participating months ago, claiming I was too busy. He didn't hear me approach, giving me a moment to observe him. His hands were covered in dirt, his focus entirely on the tomato plants he was staking. He'd always loved helping things grow. Hey, I said softly. He startled, then turned, squinting up at me. Hey, how was coffee with Mia? Illuminating. I sat on the stone bench beside the garden bed. She thinks I've been neglecting you. Ethan wiped his hands on his jeans and stood, coming to sit beside me. That's not what I told her. What did you tell her? He was quiet for a long moment. That I miss you. That sometimes it feels like we're roommates instead of partners. That I don't know how to reach you anymore. The raw honesty in his voice brought tears to my eyes. So your solution was to suggest sleeping with other people? Ethan winced. It was stupid. I don't know what I thought. That it would shake things up? That it would force us to talk about what's really going on. He ran a hand through his hair, leaving a streak of dirt on his forehead. I never wanted anyone else, Liv. Just you. Always you. I reached out and brushed the dirt away, letting my fingers linger on his skin. I thought you were having an affair with my sister. His eyes widened in genuine shock. What? Liv, no. Never. She's like a sister to me too. Plus, she's not even my type. A reluctant smile tugged at my lips. And what is your type? His gaze softened as it traveled over my face. Brilliant, determined women who plan everything down to the minute, who make spreadsheets for vacation packing and who take care of everyone around them. He took my hand. Who sometimes forget to take care of themselves or let others take care of them. The tears spilled over then, streaking down my cheeks. I've been so caught up in proving myself at work, in trying to get that promotion. I thought if I worked hard enough, made enough money, you'd never have reason to leave me. Leave you? Ethan looked bewildered. Liv, I've never wanted to leave you. Not once in 8 years. Then why suggest opening our marriage? Why risk everything we've built? He sighed deeply. Because I was scared. Scared that if we kept going like this, with the distance growing between us, we'd lose each other anyway. I thought maybe if we talked about it, about what we both need, we could find our way back. He squeezed my hand. It was a terrible idea. I see that now. I looked down at our intertwined fingers, at the gold bands that symbolized promises we'd made. I've missed you too, I admitted. I've just been so afraid of failing. At work, at marriage, at everything. Ethan tilted my chin up, forcing me to meet his gaze. You could never fail at us, Liv. We're in this together. But we need to be honest with each other. About everything. The intensity in his eyes stirred something that had been dormant for too long. Desire, yes, but also a deeper connection, the intimacy of truth shared between people who have chosen each other again and again. I'm taking a couple of weeks off, I said suddenly. Starting Monday. Ethan's eyebrows shot up. Really? What about the Henderson account? They can manage without me for a while. We need this time. To talk, to reconnect. I leaned closer. To remember why we chose each other in the first place. His smile was slow and sweet, transforming his face back into the boy I'd fallen in love with a decade ago. I think that's the best idea either of us has had in a long time. And then he was kissing me, his lips warm and familiar yet somehow new, as if we were discovering each other all over again. I melted into him, feeling the tension of the past weeks, the suspicion, the fear, the distance, begin to dissolve. Later, much later, as we lay tangled in sheets that needed changing and surrounded by clothes strewn hastily on the floor, I traced patterns on his chest and marveled at how close I'd come to losing everything that mattered. We should probably talk to Mia, I said. Together. Ethan propped himself up on one elbow, looking down at me with curiosity. About what? About this married man she's seeing. I think she needs more than just your advice. Understanding dawned in his eyes. You're not angry with her anymore? I considered this. I'm not thrilled about her choices, but she's my sister. And apparently, she's been a better friend to you than I have lately. Ethan shook his head. That's not true. You're my best friend, Liv. Always have been. He kissed my forehead. But yes, let's talk to Mia. She could use some of your practical wisdom to balance out my tendency to tell her what she wants to hear. I laughed, feeling lighter than I had in months. Is that what you do? Tell people what they want to hear. A wicked gleam entered his eye as his hand traveled down my body. Not always. Sometimes I tell them exactly what they need to hear. His mouth followed his hand, and conversation ceased for a while. We did meet with Mia the following day, the three of us sitting in our backyard as the summer afternoon faded into evening. She cried when I apologized for accusing her, and again when she told us the full story about the married man. Her boss, it turned out, who'd promised to leave his wife for months but never did. "I know it's wrong," she said, wiping her eyes. "I know I'm better than this." "You are," I agreed, reaching for her hand. "And we're going to help you remember that." Ethan added wood to the fire pit, the flames casting a warm glow over our little circle. "Step 1, you're quitting that job. I know someone at Wallace & Company who's looking for someone with your skills." Mia looked startled. "You'd do that for me? After I caused so much trouble between you two?" I exchanged a glance with Ethan, a silent communication passing between us. "You didn't cause the trouble, Mia. We did that all on our own. But you helped us find our way back to each other." I squeezed her hand. "That's what family does. We catch each other when we fall." Over the next 2 weeks, Ethan and I rebuilt what had begun to crumble. We talked, really talked, for the first time in years. About our fears, our dreams, our needs. We made love in the middle of the day and stayed up all night planning a trip we'd take in the fall. We cooked together, laughed together, rediscovered the simple joy of being fully present with each other. And one night, as we lay beneath the stars in our backyard, wine glasses empty beside us, Ethan turned to me with a serious expression. "I want you to know something," he said, his voice low. "I never for a second considered actually opening our marriage. I just didn't know how else to get your attention." I traced the line of his jaw, feeling the slight roughness of end-of-day stubble. "You have it now. All of it." "Good." He pulled me closer. "Because I don't want to share you with anyone. Not now, not ever." The possessiveness in his voice sent a pleasant shiver through me. "Same," I whispered against his lips. "You're mine, Ethan Matthews. All mine." His answering kiss was a promise, a renewal of vows made long ago and nearly forgotten in the rush of everyday life. We'd come close to losing something precious, but in facing that possibility, we'd found a deeper, stronger connection. As for Mia, she started her new job the following month and deleted her married boss's number from her phone. She comes over for dinner every Sunday now, and sometimes I catch her watching Ethan and me with a wistful expression. "I want what you two have," she confessed to me recently. "That certainty. That partnership." I hugged her, remembering how close we'd come to throwing it all away. "You'll find it," I promised. "And when you do, you'll know it's worth fighting for. Every single day." Because love isn't just about passion or comfort or shared history. It's about choosing each other again and again, especially when it would be easier to walk away. It's about honesty, even when the truth is painful. And it's about forgiveness, of others and of yourself. Ethan and I aren't perfect. We still argue, still have days when work or stress pulls us apart. But now we have tools to find our way back to each other. And most importantly, we remember what matters. This life we've built, this love we've nurtured, this commitment that bends but doesn't break. As for opening our relationship, we laugh about it now, a reminder of how lost we'd become and how completely we found each other again. Some things are worth keeping closed, kept sacred between two people who have promised to cherish each other above all others. Our marriage is one of them.